My website, yep.
For sure.
Okay.
Yes, I think we are live right now. Just let
All
me
right.
check, please.
Very good.
Just let me check, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Just let me check, please.
Okay,
Yes,
very good.
I think we are live right now. Yes, finally we're live. Good evening, everyone. It's a great honor to welcome to please you all to Global Leaders Talk, a platform where difference comes from different parts of the world comes together to share insights, experience, and perspectives that influence the direction of our global community and youth society. So let me beginning with a simple question. Can you louder that grief exists together? At first, it may be impossible, but sometimes the greatest healing begins when we remember not only how someone died, but how to live that. That's the point. So, grief is one of the most universal human experiences. Every one of us experience loss at some point in life. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means losing and caring someone and memorize and hope forward. That's the point. So, dear audience, today we are going to talk about a very important topic, and that's the very themes putting the fun in funerals, the power of laughter in grief. So, a healthy grieving process helps us find strength during difficult times and build emotional resilience. So, dear audience, this special session is proudly presented by Tushar Associates. My name is Tushar Hasan Hridoy, a software skill and sales leadership trainer and from Bangladesh. And I'm truly honored to be your host for today's global conversation. And I'm very confident that the insight shared by our guest will inspire all of us. So, today we are privileged to welcome our outstanding speaker who are making an impact in leadership, personal development, and communication across the world. So, first, we are honored to welcome our outstanding speaker, Jason Harris, pioneering into dancing, international speaker, author, and coach from the US. Please welcome this podcast.
Thank you so much, Tushar. It's so good to finally be here. I thank you for reaching out to me. Morning into dancing is something I started just a few months ago officially, but I've been doing this work for many years. And I've always said there's three kinds of people in this world. There are those who know they're going to grieve. That's grief comes to us all. Everyone loses someone. So those who are going to grieve, there are those that are listening right now who are currently grieving. You may have just lost a loved one recently. But the third kind of person is not those who have grieved, it's those who are still grieving because grief really never goes away. And so my passion is helping people through the loss of a loved one to celebrate that life in more ways than just a traditional funeral can accomplish. That's why when I say I put the fun, the FUN in funeral, it doesn't mean that I'm taking away from the pain of losing that loved one, but introducing more laughter into the service, not by trying to make something light that is very heavy, but by allowing people to celebrate that life.
Yeah, really, absolutely. Everyone should be happy to other ones. That's the important in our human life. Yeah, so I love it, and thank you so much once again for your valuable time. So I hope that today's conversation will be very informative and engaging and helping other people. So let's dive into the discussion. So you are doing very well, international and global coach and trainer, and also you are author. So my first question is very simple. You often you say you put in the fun and in funerals. So why do you believe that? And laughter is such a vital component of the healing process.
Well, I believe the Bible says that laughter does good like a medicine. It is almost medicinal when we laugh. Now, my goal at funerals is not to get up and try to tell jokes or anecdotes that are going to make people laugh. That's never the goal. I introduce 5 questions to the family first. And usually when I speak at someone's funeral, I've spent several hours with the family harvesting information about the person that they're celebrating, the one that they lost. But so when I share the answers to the 5 questions to the people who have gathered to honor the life of this loved one, I make the service very interactive then. And so I invite the crowd who came to the service to also answer the questions. And the answers to those questions usually evoke laughter as they remember the life of the person that they loved and that they've lost. And as they share these stories and memories, there are always smiles and laughter. And one thing that I always say, Tushar, is laughter through the tears is a very healing emotion. And people tell me almost after every service that I speak at, I've never been to a service like this. I didn't know it was okay to laugh at a service like this. And it makes people remember, and they go away smiling through their tears. And I think that's a very, very important part of the healing process.
Yeah, really, it's a very important part for our happiness. For whenever you laughter in front of other people, they also you are automatic make them happy for your smiles. So it's not only for our heart, and it also helping other people for your smile, your laughter. So that's very important, and they're fantastic. So whenever I study your 5 questions and different things, I started your books a little bit from the Google or some site. So
Mhm.
that's really fantastic. So yeah, my second question is very simple. What is the fundamental differences between a traditional ceremony and celebration of life?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Tushar. In fact, when I first saw it, I just smiled because this is one of the reasons why I started Morning into Dancing. Just so your crowd can know, I am the ones who are listening. I went to 5 years of Bible college, and then I went on to get my master's degree at a seminary. Went 3 more years to a seminary where I was studying to be a pastor. And this may surprise you, but in those 8 years, I had only one lecture about funerals. And you would think that would be an emphasis for a minister of the gospel, but instead, that one lecture was just about protocol and standard practices of a traditional funeral. And traditional funeral, at least here in the West, in the United States, when people think of a funeral, they think of a very sad and somber occasion. Everyone wearing black, and and voices very soft and quiet, and people just saying, "I'm so sorry for your loss," and some minister getting up and saying, "We are gathered here today," and he gets very serious and somber. And the mood is already oppressive because people say, "I miss my loved one," but they're not ready for what I usually bring, because one of the first things I say to Shar is, "Hey, we're not here today because this person died. We're here because they lived, and we're here to celebrate the life they lived and not just express our sorrow over the loss. Does that make sense? And so so the things that I do, the 5 questions that I ask, and the interactive nature of it, I tell people, I don't want you to think of the place where we're sitting as a chapel or a sanctuary or a church. I want you to think of it as though it's just the living room of this family's house. And we're going to sit around and we're going to talk about and celebrate this person's life. There are 3 L's that I teach: life, laughter, and legacy. And I won't go into all of that now. We don't have time for that. But that is the fundamental difference between just talking about heaven, for example, or the next life, as people think about in a sermon format, as much as celebrating the life this person that we remember. And that's what we talk about. That's one of the things that really sets it apart.
Yeah, absolutely right. And sometimes whenever I realize that life has no replay again, yeah,
Yes.
life has no replay. So you should every moment live life happily, because there is no alternative way. And celebrating is not your sadness or other things, not a show up. Yeah, because your life, your decision, and your passion and your happiness to louder in front of other people. That's the important for your life to celebrate. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but some people they have no idea. They have no aware about this part, the sorrow and different sadness, and they are not aware. And nobody showed them how to louder in front of other people and live life happily. So, that's the important. So, so I have another question. In
Yes.
our audience, different people see our podcast on live. So, my third question is very simple. How do you help families find the unforgettable experience in a moment of such a deep loss?
That's a great question. One of the things I started doing, and this really sets me apart from traditional experiences, uh, those of you who are listening, when you have lost a loved one, especially when that death is unexpected, someone has a massive heart attack, or they die in a car accident, or something that they were perfectly healthy yesterday and now they're gone. You go through something that grief counselors refer to as denial. The first stage of grief sometimes is shock. And here in America, the funeral service is many times just 2 or 3 days after the person died. And when that's the case, the family is still sitting there saying, I can't believe this is happening. And so many times at the funeral, that's when everyone shows up to say, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And they're getting their arms around the family. And then they leave after that service. And the family is still in shock. They're still, nothing much is getting into their head or their heart. It's usually about 2 weeks later that some of that denial starts to go away and the real grief journey hits them hard. And that's when everyone, and so I started something about an example. I just spoke at a service about 2 weeks ago of this man. This is a matchbox. There's simply, matches inside. And the reason I make his picture on this
Yes,
matchbox, that
yes,
with some things that he loved, on the back, his favorite teams and things like that, his name, the date of when he was born and when he passed away. I give these to everyone who comes to the service at the very end of the service. And I say, I want you to take one of these home with you and just put it in the kitchen junk drawer. That's very popular here in America anyway. And the reason I want you to keep this is that throughout the year, if you ever have to light candles for a birthday party or dinner, or if you're just going for an ink pen or something in that drawer, and you see him looking up at you, you don't need these to remember him. Everyone's going to remember the one that we lost. But it's a good time to reach out to his wife, to his son, to his best friend, people who still need your support, and not just at the funeral service. So the 9th chapter of my book is called Lessons from a Hobbit, a Grief Dog, and a Box of Matches. And so these are things, experience unforgettable. I just spoke with who I spoke at his niece's funeral over 3 years ago. And he said, just yesterday, I saw her matchbox. And thank you so much for doing that. That's something that most people don't experience at a funeral. It's something you can take with you to remind you to stay with the family. But that's something that I care about, is not just ministering to that family at their moment of loss, but staying on the journey with that family beyond the loss so that they're not alone in their grief.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful experiences and unforgettable sharing insights. So we really enjoy this word, and thank you so much once again for your unforgettable experience with the family members and other things and some interesting parts. So we are totally last moment in this podcast. So my next question is not last, not least. So how do how does preparing the pre-planning a funeral or state providing an emotional security for the next generation? Because it's very important for our global industry or personal and professional life. So what for the next generation, what you are doing to security is something emotional part.
That is, it's so important. We doing this is I sell what's called pre-need funeral insurance. And I'm not going to get into a business transaction here, but what that allows people to do is to not only pre-arrange and pre-plan their funeral services, but to pay for it ahead of time so that the family is not burdened financially. But more importantly than that, if people plan the way they're going to be celebrated before that's needed. I'm 57 years old. I hope I live to be 87 or 97, another 30 or 40 years. But if I plan ahead of time, this is the way I want to be celebrated. This is how I want my kids and my grandkids to remember me and things like that. This is the legacy part of the life, laughter, and legacy that I teach other people, this method. There is something I encourage people to do is to make about a 5 or 10 minute video that can actually be played of you at your service. Imagine speaking at your own life celebration, because the family, it's usually very hard for them to eulogize or talk about their loved one without getting choked up. But if they could play a video of you saying, hey, if you're watching this, obviously I'm no longer on this earth, but I want you to know I loved you. I care about you. Thank you for being my friend. I'm so glad. I was so proud to be your father, your brother, your son, whatever. Because the truth is, there are 3 truths that I always say at almost every funeral is life is brief. I mean, whether you live 5 years or 95 years, life is brief. The Bible says our life is like a vapor. It's here and it's gone. Death is certain. I don't think anybody watching is going to get out of that. We know that everyone someday is going to die. And because that's true, another truth that I speak anyway is that we need a Savior. And I'm not going to go into a sermon or anything right now, but because there is more beyond this life, we need to be prepared, and prepared spiritually, prepared financially, prepared emotionally. And so emotional, financial, and spiritual preparation is so very important, But when you know I've taken care of it, it's the reason why we have like auto insurance and homeowners insurance and things like that, in case there's a fire, in case I have an accident, in case something unexpected happens. But we know, Tushar, that we're going to die someday. And so that is especially what we need to be prepared for. I may never have a house fire. I may never have a car accident, but I know someday I'm going to die. And I want to take that burden of all the planning. I mean, I've seen this for 14 years, Tushar, people having to make arrangements for a funeral for their loved one who was alive just yesterday, and trying to make about 100 decisions in a funeral director's office on one of the worst days of your life is a very stressful experience. And so if somebody has filled out a planning guide ahead of time and says, this is everything that I want done, imagine the relief that a son or daughter or spouse has when they can just turn that into the funeral director and say, this is what he wanted, this is what she wanted, and this is all, and especially if it's already paid for. And so pre-planning a funeral or estate provides more than just the emotional security. It's financial security. It's even spiritual security if people have dealt with that. Do I know the Lord? And so there's so much more I could say about it, but that's really my passion. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share all of these things. That the book that I wrote is called Good Grief, Celebrate Your Life. And it's kind of a play on words. Grief, we usually don't think of grief as being a good thing, but it can be. It can be, because we're going to grieve. And I use the illustration sometimes. Imagine being dropped in the middle of a dark forest that you've never seen before, blindfolded. And then you remove the blindfold, and every direction you look, and every direction, 360 degrees, is just more dark woods. And it's like, I don't even know the direction to go. I've never been here before. And that's how it feels when someone loses their spouse. They would say, I've never lost my spouse before. I've never lost a father before, or my mother, or my child. And I'm in uncharted territory. Imagine how they would feel if someone stepped out from behind a tree and they looked like Indiana Jones from, the movies years ago. And he says, you know what? I've been through these woods 100 times. I know every tree, and I can walk with you. How much comfort would that bring? And so that's what we really need to do, is not tell somebody our opinions and give just platitudes, but to just walk with them and say, I'm here. Because our presence and how we make someone feel is so much more important than the words that we say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really such a wonderful insights. That's the really experiences insights for our audience. So yeah, we are totally last moment in our podcast. And yeah, but if I conclude in a conclusion in our today's podcast, all the summaries. So first one is very important. Your family is the first priority. Enjoy your life in front of other people, and your families, your father, your son, your mothers, that is the important. And celebrate your life every single moment. Yeah. And second thing is the very important, your legacy. That is the important for your happily enjoy your life. And third was very important, how to prepare in the future for your emotional security, your financial security, and your spirituality security. So that's the very important for your laughter in front of other people and live life happily. So dear audience, today we are totally last moment. Mind it and remember one things. Grief is not about forgetting the people, but we love people. And it's about learning to carry their love with as we live in together. So when we embarking a healthy journey through grief, we learn and we help us to finding our strength, and even our life will be a hardest moment when we will focus the grief test and supportive others with empathy and compassion. That's the important, and we can rediscover yourself, hope, and while we celebrating our life. So healing is not just absence of sadness. Yeah, it's
Yes.
about presence of hope and love and courage to moving forward. That is the important and the greatest tribute to those we have lost. Not only to something, we want to create something for other people, and we are smiling all the times. Live life happily. So we are totally last moment. So if you give me some permission, we will take some question from our audience. Someone asking some question, Mujibur Rahman. My own question is how we can apply this in real life.
Well, that's a great question. I do this on a daily basis. The 5 questions, I would love to share them. Well, I'll just rattle them off real quickly without interacting with them. I like to harvest the answers from people. The reason I call this the 5 questions that will change your life is that I wrote them, first of all, to help me celebrate the life of someone I didn't know. That's about 95% of the funerals I'm asked to speak at. How am I going to celebrate their life? That's why I said I want you to answer these 5 questions about your loved one. But what I discovered, Tushar, is that these same 5 questions have about 3 other significant applications in real life. And the questions that I ask about the loved one that you lost is, number 1, what did you call this person? I'm not looking for just the obituary name. For example, my grandmother's name was Mabel Lee Harris. She died 27 years ago. And if someone would have gotten up and just talked about her by her name, that wouldn't have resonated with me. I called her Mama. That was the intimate name. That's her grandmother name to me. And so what did you call this person? If you could describe her with just one word, what would it be? And I can ask that question to 10 different family members and get 10 different answers, and they're all correct. Because this is how I would describe. Was she loving? She was giving. She was caring. She was nurturing. She was funny. All these things. If you could summarize it with one word. Number 3, what is one of your favorite memories? Tell me a story that you loved, that you shared together. The last 2 questions are a little more emotive, and that's the 4th question is, tell me a life lesson that you gained from this person. What did they teach you? What do you do because of them? And the last question I ask is, if your loved one could speak to you just one more time, if they were here right now, what would they say to you today? And so applying this in real life is taking those questions, even in a moment when you run into somebody at work, when you run into somebody at school or in life, a friend of yours that say, I just lost my mother 3 weeks ago or whatever. We tend to just say things like, well, at least she's in a better place, or at least she's not suffering. And those things don't land well. They really don't. But if I can engage that person and let them talk about their loved one. Well, what did you call this person? How would you describe her with one word? Tell me your favorite memories. What did she teach you? What would she say to you now? And when I applied that in real life, that's one of the reasons that my book was inspired was, wow, these can really be life-changing. So thank you very much for the question and for that comment.
Well, oh yeah, someone is asking in languages Bangladesh. He asking something. So, however, so thank you so much, dear, for your such a wonderful conversation and wonderful insights. I really appreciate, and that will be directly influence our younger generation and also personal and professional improvement. So thank you so much. We are totally last moment, dear audience. See you soon next podcast in our channel or social media. And also, Jason Harris, they have too much books. If you need any books or anything, you can feel for go and search on Amazon or whatever website. You can easily buy her training course, whatever books or other things. So still connected with us. See you soon next podcast. So once again, thank you so much, Jason Harris, for your valuable time to giving us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Tushar. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much.